I am Adonica Coleman, and I am your host today. And on behalf of NTT DATA and Snowflake, I want to welcome everyone to this amazing event. Now, I have a three-part ask from you. I need you to turn on your videos, drop where you're from in the chat or where you are right now. It's always fun to see where people are from. And buckle up as we prepare to take a digital transformation journey down Route 66. As with most life journeys, we learn from the past in order to pave a better road to the future. So we are going to share insight from the past, learn about the importance of speed, and how to improve your digital transformation roadmap by removing data silos and improving sharing of data across large ecosystems. So we're going to be starting this journey today in Chicago with two of our executives that happen to live there. So Wayne Bush is up first. Wayne is the president of NTT Data Services, Consulting and Digital Transformation Services. He has more than 28 years in the IT services industry, leading a high-impact consulting, digital technology, and operations team. Wayne, would you like me to add any more color to that introduction? Tell us how long you've lived in Chicago.
Hey, Donica, I've lived in Chicago since 2001 and call it home. Very, very happy to kick off today's Route 66 event with our session here with Snowflake.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think once you've lived in a place more than what do you say, 5, 10 years, you just say this is home.
It is. I've lived all over the world, but Chicago is definitely home.
I love it. Well, we also have joining us today, Michael Desiderio. He is the Senior District Manager and Regional Vice President of Sales at Snowflake. He has more than 16 years of management experience in the analytics software industry. We're excited to have you with us today, Michael. Tell me a little bit more about yourself and then about your Snowflake's partnership with NTT Data when it comes to digital transformation.
Sure. Thanks, Adonica. Let me start by stating it's a real privilege for me to participate in today's event on behalf of Snowflake. Like Wayne, Chicago is my adopted home and has been for close to 25 years. My wife my wife's originally from Oak Park. That's where we live today, just a couple miles north of Route 66. Fun fact, when I joined Snowflake 3 years ago, our first sales office in downtown Chicago was on the corner of Michigan Avenue in Adams, right across from the Art Institute, at the very spot that marks the beginning of historic Route 66. So hopefully that gets some Snowflake Street credibility with Dan Rice, our historian, that will be joining us in a moment. And Dan is going to explain how Route 66 literally transformed transportation and commerce in the United States in the 20th century. And it's the perfect analogy to how Snowflake and NTT are transforming the way companies do business by leveraging the power of our data cloud in the 21st century.
Well, Michael, I think you probably definitely have some Route 66 street cred with Dan. We'll ask him when he comes on. So speaking of Dan, also joining us today is Dan Rice, who is the founder and owner of 66 to Cali, the original final stop on the world's famous Santa Monica Pier, as well as the creator and owner of the first actual end sign for Route 66, which unbelievably did not even exist until 2009. It's kind of like a marathon without a finish line, right? Now his shop is a place for everyone to celebrate the finish of their journey. Dan is a Route 66 historian, consultant, author, the former president of the California Historical Route 66 Association, and is regularly featured on the History Channel, the Travel Channel, the Discovery Channel, and almost anything featuring Route 66. Dan has traveled Route 66 start to finish an astounding 32 times. Dan, does Michael get some street cred with you about Route 66?
He does. He absolutely does. And I love hearing somebody that adopts Chicago as their hometown, and because I consider it also my original hometown, even though I'm under palm trees in the nice place of Santa Monica. But Chicago is always where my roots are from.
All right. Well, if I'm not mistaken, we're ready.
Okay, well here, before we start this video, let's stop that video real quick because some people are gonna wanna know what Route 66 is. And Route 66, for anyone that doesn't know, was the first paved concrete highway across the United States. So before there were any any highways that were paved. Everything was dirt, and everybody was traveling by carriages, and they were traveling with their farm goods, whatever it was that they needed to get other places. So to have a paved concrete highway, that was pretty futuristic. And so Route 66 has always been where the past met the future. And even today, it continues to impact. And if you think of taking dirt roads and turning them into highways, and then having a highway that was paved that went all the way across the United States, it was unbelievable. And it was unbelievable to a lot of people. One of the guys that thought that it was pretty unbelievable and knew it would be good for his business was a fellow Chicagoan. That guy's name was Al Capone. And he was doing a ton of business by bringing illegal liquor in from Canada to Chicago, and then he was running it down Route 66. So by using some of his relationships politically behind the scenes to get that road paved early, he was able to move bottles, which break very easily on muddy, rutty roads, and he was able to deliver a lot more inventory. So because of Route 66 being paved first in Illinois, over the next 11 years, it got paved all the way to Santa Monica. That was real good for the bottle business. But more than that, the guys that drove for him, they would soup up their cars because they had to outrun the local law enforcement. Now, if you're in the business of outrunning the local law enforcement, you also know that you need to know how to steer and go around these curves real fast. You need to put bricks under your frame to hold the car up so the law enforcement can't see that, hey, that thing is loaded down right there. They've got alcohol. Let's pull them over. No, we're going to soup up the engine so it goes faster. And after Prohibition was over, what happened? These guys didn't lose their need for speed. They continued to enjoy the racing experience. So even though racing had existed, it became something completely different after Prohibition and just went crazy. So that's part of Route 66's influence on racing. Also, the future and the past, everything coming together. But here, let's not keep talking about that. I got that video there of Chicago right in front. So let's take you for a little drive down Route 66 in Illinois, which just exactly like Michael said, starts at the corner of Michigan Avenue and Adams. There's the Chicago River. If you've never taken a trip on the Chicago River, the architectural tour, I would recommend it. There's the Sears Tower, which a lot of people don't realize is actually on eastbound and westbound Route 66. You can see it in the back of that photo. There's the begin sign at Michigan and Adams. So if you were standing on the steps of the Art Institute and looked back across the street, you would see that sign. And you just saw the Berghoff, which was a big Prohibition stop. There's Lou Mitchell's, probably the most popular breakfast and lunch place in all of Chicago, especially for Route 66 people. In fact, say hi to Marie at the door. She'll greet you when you come in. Dolce will probably check you out on the way out. And there's the Sears Tower, which now, if you want to take a little trip to the top and look out over Route 66 as it travels across the United States, you can actually stand on one of those observation towers there and look straight down a quarter mile at the street beneath you. Not for the faint-hearted, but a lot of fun still. And there you go. There's a view of it, so you can see just exactly how far below. And there's the famed skyline of Chicago. And of course, as we go downstate, we're going to come to places like Springfield and Litchfield, and we're going to see some of the old classic gas stations that have been restored, like in Dwight. That's the Dwight, Illinois gas station that was restored by a friend of mine several years ago. We've got all the best mom and pop shops, motels, museums, diners. It changed travel across the United States. Of course, now we have museums all the way across Route 66. This is the one in Pontiac, Illinois, which is a town that's known for its murals, and it's one of the best. I would put that in the top 3 museums on all of Route 66. Of course, there's Bob Waldmeier's van. Bob Waldmeier was an artist that traveled Route 66 his whole life, and when he passed, his van went to that museum. So as we go downstate, you'll come to Atlanta, Illinois. This is a place that has a restaurant, the Palms Grill, that has fantastic pies. Of course, there was a guy by the name of Abraham Lincoln that was from Illinois. He became fairly popular in politics a few years after he grew up there. And there's the Ariston Cafe, the oldest eatery on all of Route 66, actually built in 1923, 3 years before Route 66. It has the biggest dessert tray that you will ever see. It'll have something for everybody, something you can imagine, some things you can't imagine. You want one of every one of them. And then, of course, just south of that is this famed Chain of Rocks Bridge. And you can see why it's famous. It has a turn in the middle. And as you go across the Mississippi River and you come to the other side, you're actually in St. Louis. Now, that is closed to traffic today, But if you want to get the experience of walking across the Mississippi River, there's your opportunity. It is a walking trail today. So that's a real brief drive down Route 66. I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Adonica, but there's your intro and how you fit into the whole big picture. Highway to superhighway to data, everything you're doing makes sense to stay at the front of the future.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm excited to continue this journey down Route 66 with you, Dan, because I'm learning more every time I'm in your presence. And I have a special connection to the Chain of Rocks Bridge, but I will wait until our next route in Missouri before I bring that up. So what we're going to do now is we have a little bit of a surprise for you guys. So you saw Lou Mitchell's Diner in the video, and we have an NTT Data employee at Lou Mitchell's Diner right now. Alitra, are you with us?
I am, and I'm at the iconic Lou Mitchell's restaurant right now.
Oh my gosh, tell us what's going on there right this moment. I'm interested.
Oh my God, so busy earlier. Obviously, this restaurant has been here since 1923. Am I right, Dan? Right? Serving breakfast and lunch to people here at the start of Route 66. So here we are at Lou Mitchell's. I'm gonna go in and finish my breakfast.
Alitra, what are you having for breakfast? Just real quick, make us hungry.
Oh, I'm having waffles and chicken sausage.
Ooh, yeah, it looks yummy. Doesn't it look? Look,
Yum.
everybody needs to go there. I
The
know.
food here is amazing, and we've got everybody here enjoying breakfast this morning.
That is wonderful.
Wonderful
Thank you.
restaurant, great food.
I like it. Next time I'm in Chicago, I know where I'm going for breakfast for sure.
100%.
Thank you so much, Alitra. Enjoy that breakfast, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. All right. Now, Dan, you told us a little bit about Lou Mitchell's, but you also mentioned a little bit, I think there's a tie-in to racing that you wanted to tell us about.
Well, yeah, with Al Capone being from there, you know, he was in business at a time when there was no internet, there was no fax machine, there was no cell phone, but he was trying to do business, and so it was him that was having these cars souped up at all these different places, so that they could do the they could do the business that he was in, and they needed to be able to outrun that local law enforcement. So by having each of those drivers that got used to, you know, jacking up the cars, putting the bricks under the frame, souping up the engines, knowing how to steer that car when they needed to outrun somebody. Even though racing had existed, it really took off after Prohibition, because these guys, they continued to want to drive those cars and drive them as fast as they could.
I can imagine so. I can imagine speed was important. So now I just want to take a moment to announce a really special guest that we have with us. And our special guest is Marcus Erickson, who is the number 8 driver for Chip Ganassi Racing. And I think we have a little video to roll before we get a talk with Marcus.
Wonderful. As Adonica mentioned, we're very thankful for having Marcus with us today. Some of you may have seen that we originally intended to have Alex Palou, the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series champion, but there's been some unexpected travel delays. I would say maybe there's even a chance that we got an upgrade here by having Marcus, who drives the number 8 Honda, with us today. So Marcus, welcome to our discussion today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So Marcus, 2021 was truly a breakout season for you in the NTT IndyCar Series. What do you think were the primary factors in taking the next step from your first 2 years in the series?
I think for me, it's been a lot of hard work. I came over from 5 years of racing in Formula One and stepped into the American racing scene, and it was a big change for me. It took a couple of years to get used to the racing here in the States, but I felt like really this 2021 season is finally started to sort of go my way, and all that hard work together with the team and everyone, it started to pay off. And when you get some good results, you get more confidence, and it sort of goes hand in hand. And also the fact that we as a team had such a strong season together, with Alex winning the championship, Scott was up there in the top of the championship, and myself and Jimmy Johnson stepping in as well to the team. We had a great mix of drivers and personalities that really helped all of us push and become successful.
That's great, Marcus. And 2021 was a big year for you as part of the Chip Ganassi team. You had 2 wins with Detroit and Nashville, so congratulations on both those. As you look back at the year, what do you think the most standout moment or memorable moment was for you this year?
Yeah, like you say, it was a great year, but for me, I gotta say the Detroit win. It was my first win in the IndyCar series, and that's always a huge thing to win your first race in a racing series, and especially in IndyCar, which is one of the best racing series in the world. So that's something I will always remember and sort of bring with me.
As sponsors for the NTT IndyCar series, we've got a lot of motorsports fans, but for those who may be joining us who aren't, so familiar with motorsports, they may look at your history of being a Formula One driver and assume that translates immediately into success, over here in North America with the IndyCar series. Can you talk about the biggest differences that you may have seen and some of the challenges that you had to overcome over the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think Formula One, it's a very car dominant series where you need to be in a good team or a good car to perform good results. IndyCar is more even playing field. It's a one spec series. Everyone have the same spec cars. There's 2 engine manufacturers in Honda and Chevrolet, which is pretty evenly matched. So that means that you have to work very hard with your team and your engineers and mechanics to try and set up the car the best possible way to be successful. And that for me was a big difference versus in Formula One. I was running in smaller teams without really a chance to win and compete. So that's a big thing that's different with the IndyCar series, which makes it a lot more fun from a sporting perspective. Also, the cars race in the NTT IndyCar series is more, or I should say, less complicated than a Formula One car. So it's we don't have power steering, for example, in an IndyCar. We race on many different types of tracks, like oval tracks, street courses, road courses, which makes it very hard as a driver because you need to be very flexible in changing driving styles between different race tracks that it goes to. So it's a very tough series for a driver and a team to be successful because it's a lot of challenges throughout the season.
It's amazing how things that seem so similar can be so different. A lot of times in business, we face some of the same challenges, and we find out a lot of times that a lot of effort doesn't always equal results. So within your first 2 years, you were building up some experience, but putting in an awful lot of effort, but maybe not the results that you were looking for. Can you share with us sort of how you remain positive and avoided frustration in those years, and how that's helped you succeed as you've gotten into year number 3?
Yeah, I think for me, it was tough the first 2 years coming here. It was a lot to learn, and like you say, you put a lot of effort in, and you want results to come your way. But the NTT IndyCar series is such a competitive series. It's you go up against drivers that've been here for 15, 20 years even, and then been racing on these tracks with these cars. So it takes some time to sort of get into that and get used to the racing. And I think for me, it was definitely tough because I felt like I was putting in all the effort to be successful, but the results didn't really come my way. But I think for me, it was important to keep believing in myself. I work hard on the mental side. I think that's something that really can make a difference in sports, but in all parts of life, you know. And that was something that I've been working a lot on that side the last sort of year and a half to be focused, be positive, and believe in myself, and that have helped me a lot this year, I think, to take my performances to another level.
I think that's a great lesson, whether you're talking motorsports or life or business, you know, all very true. You know, we've got a lot of folks who are joining us on our Zoom call today who are technologists, and you know, technology plays a very integral role in the NTT IndyCar series, especially when you think about how you use data to try to gain advantage over your competitors. Can you talk about how you and your team use data to try to improve your performance?
Yeah, so during a race weekend, we basically spend probably 80 or 90% of our time looking at data. We have sensors all over the cars, the race cars, and with before and between sessions and after sessions, we analyze all these data to try and understand how you can improve as a driver, how we can improve the setup of the car. We compare data with each other within the team. We also have data share from other teams that we can see what they're doing differently. So today in racing, the data and the amount of information we get from the data during a race weekend is extremely important, and something we put a lot of time into, and it really helps us to be as good as possible and to be at the top of our game. So it's something, yeah, that's extremely important for us in the IndyCar series.
Data is important everywhere, and that's one of the reasons we're here today. So for those who are in attendance who've never been to an IndyCar race, what would you say to convince them to come to a race in person, or maybe tune in on television and watch next year?
I think I would recommend people to come in person, because it really is very different experience to be on a racetrack, to really feel and see the speed sensations you get on a racetrack is something that is difficult to get through watching it on TV, for example. So that's something that I always say, you need to come and experience the speed, especially, you know, the Indianapolis 500 is incredible when we race there in speeds up to 240 miles per hour, wheel to wheel with other cars, with 33 cars doing speed like that. It's pretty crazy, and it's pretty cool to sort of experience that. But even watching on TV, I think in the NTT IndyCar series is one of the best racing series in the world. We have drivers from all over the world coming to race in this series, and the competition is truly on an extremely high level, where you can win one weekend, but the next weekend you can be P20 or P22, because it's such a competitive field. And I think that from a sporting perspective is very fun, because it's very, you know, a lot of action and unexpected things that can happen during a race.
Yeah, you've talked about how sport and life, you know, intertwine. You know, thanks for coming to us from your native home in Sweden this evening. You know, your time. I'm told that as a youth you were a very talented hockey goaltender, and that you recently had a chance to get in net during a visit with the Anaheim Ducks. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, thank you for calling me very talented. I don't know about very, but yeah, there was some talent there for sure. Yeah, I'm joking aside. I'm like you said, I'm from Sweden, and Sweden we love our ice hockey, and I was playing ice hockey in the winter time and driving go-karts in the summers growing up. So I was, like you say, I was playing goalie up until I was 16 years old, and that's sort of got me to a point where I had to choose what career to pursue, and I think I made the right choice to try and become a racing driver. I'm not sure I would have become an NHL ice hockey goalie as was the sort of other dream of mine. But yeah, it was super cool. I got the chance to go to to the NM Ducks training facility a couple of weeks ago now, and I have a couple of friends who plays there for the Ducks. So actually, one of them came to the 500 this year, Hampus Lindholm. So yeah, I went there a couple of weeks ago. I suited up as a goalie and was part of their practice. And the end of the practice, a couple of players stayed out, and then we had some fun there on ice, and that was it was extremely fun and definitely sort of a dream coming true because growing up, that was definitely one of my dreams to become an NHL goalie and to be out there on ice with the full gear on and getting shots from the real NHL guys was super cool.
Great, that's an exciting experience. Hey Marcus, thank you for joining today to talk to us about the parallels between motorsports and the NTT IndyCar series, how you use data in the context of thinking about transformation of your success. And as we talk about digital transformation going forward, I think we'll see a lot of those parallels. So thank you again for joining, and let's roll the next video.
NTT IndyCar Series drivers are extremely talented in analyzing situational problems in an instant. With that in mind, we thought we may be able to utilize their skill set to help us with our clients. But first, we had to see how quick they were on their feet with our business terminology.
Journey to the cloud.
Journey. Don't stop believing.
Agile DevOps.
What?
Agile DevOps.
Track and field.
Journey to the cloud.
Journey to the cloud is when you take a journey and you go to the cloud. Space. You're going to space, right?
Kanban.
Kanban? Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite places to go. In the airport, you get the bun. It's really like sweet and sugary. Or is that Cinnabon? Oh, that's Cinnabon.
Smart city.
Smart city is Toowoomba. It's a very smart city. It's a garden city. It's a home of great sports people and just great people in general.
Pivot.
Pivot. Pivot's like that movement in dancing. Pivot, something like that. Pivot.
Well, I guess we'll just leave the driving to them and the digital transformation to us.
Sometimes it does feel like we're speaking a different language. I know when I talk to my parents, they tell me as much. So
Marcus, I was
now,
just going to say there were a couple of people who asked questions in the chat of Marcus. If you want to go into the chat and answer some of the questions, that would be great. There are a couple of people who asked how fast you've been and whether you think hockey or racing is a safer sport. So, but thank you for joining us, Marcus.
I'll do that. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
great. So Marcus will continue to answer some questions there. Keep them coming, and he'll share some more insights with you. As we shift here to talk a little bit more about the educational part of our discussion. Right, when Adonica introduced me, she talked about almost 3 decades of delivering technology services to my clients. Right, we've moved from a world of multi-year transformation to multi-week transformation, and the only way we can do those type of things working with our clients is working with a very flexible, highly flexible platform like Snowflake. And in fact, data is in our name, and we recently acquired an organization called Hashmap to extend our capability in the Snowflake space. And I'd like to introduce, one of my colleagues who'll be, leading portion of the session here, Kelly Colafel, who is our go-to-market leader for all things Snowflake and data related from Hashmap. And he's also a host of the On Tap podcast that the Hashmap team releases every week. And he'll be representing NTT Data in this next section of where we're going. Welcome, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks so much, Wayne. Hi, folks. I'm Kelly. Really looking forward to the data conversation today. A lot of fun to just get all these different perspectives, Route 66, the racing, et cetera. I look after personally the go-to-market, as Wayne said, for Hashmap. We're focused in the data space. We are strictly consulting services. And I think the easiest way to think about us is we help clients design and build data products. That's it. It's that simple. So looking forward to sharing some thoughts and perspectives with you today and enjoying some time with our Snowflake friends.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. Yeah, it's really exciting to see NTT join forces with Hashmap. It's been a great relationship from Snowflake's perspective on both sides of that coin. And joining Kelly for this session is Teddy Lewis. Teddy joined Snowflake back in 2015, so that's going way back. He must have a really good eye for innovative technologies to join Snowflake that early. Teddy spent the last 6 years in sales leadership roles at Snowflake. Most recently, he was a peer of mine responsible for our Mid-Atlantic majors accounts, including Capital One, which is Snowflake's largest customer. Teddy currently serves as a principal on the Data Cloud strategy team. So Teddy, please put your turn signal on and merge onto Route 66. How about that?
All right. Thank you, Michael. Great to be here with everyone.
Yeah.
And great to be here with our partners, NTT DATA. We've seen some of the most successful Snowflake implementations globally, at the hands of NTT and their customers. So great to be here with you all. Great. So I think we are here to tell you a bit about Snowflake's Data Cloud and help you all understand how it can be leveraged by enterprises or organizations to really become data-driven as part of their digital transformation journey, and staying with the theme of our digital transformation journey here of Route 66. So if we can jump to the first slide here, please. Excellent. So Snowflake was founded in 2012 by our founders who came from Oracle, and they set out to solve this challenge that they saw as probably the #1 impediment to organizations becoming data-driven. And that is a critical component of an organization's digital transformation journey. The first set of data silos that our founders wanted to help customers break down was the silos within their four walls. Data comes in various shapes and sizes, whether it's traditional relational data from your business systems, whether it's ERP systems or HR systems. That data is very different than data that's coming off of your mobile applications or your sensor IoT data. And traditionally, it was very challenging for organizations to manage all this data in a single place where they could open up access to the business and democratize that access for analysts and data scientists to derive business value from all of that data within their four walls. And Snowflake has been very successful in helping customers break down those data silos within their four walls to get access to all of that first-party data that's relevant to their business. But our mission has really evolved over the past few years, especially as organizations have accelerated their digital transformation journeys. And they've partnered with more and more application cloud providers like ServiceNow or Salesforce, Workday, or Adobe, or relying on third-party data sets from providers like Experian or Standard & Poor's or AccuWeather. And Snowflake has really come to a place now with our data cloud where we are helping organizations break down data silos, not just within their four walls, but across their entire ecosystem of partners, customers, and vendors. Kelly, I know you've helped a lot of customers and organizations on this journey. Can you tell us a bit about how you've seen some organizations, struggle with this challenge and also solve it?
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, it is 100% a real challenge, the data silo challenge. I mean, we put out a LinkedIn poll not too long ago asking, what is your biggest data challenge? I think I'm going to ask the audience that here in just a couple of minutes. Around data, the top two things that came back were data quality and data silos. And if you look back, say 3, 5, even 7 years ago, where we were just, let's just collect data. Let me get it into one place. I think overall, the industry and all of us have proven we can collect data at scale. That's really not an issue anymore. It's this, how do I get elasticity to address data sources, data sets, source systems, and apps. And you think about elasticity in terms of compute. I'm thinking about it in terms of this variety of data. And you show a lot of different examples of that with these silos. To me, that's the biggest issue. And you hit on it in that metric. It's not about collecting, it's using, it's getting business impact. And so I'll throw a question out to the audience, and if you could pop it into the chat window, what do you see as your biggest data challenges or just challenge as we roll into the last half of 2021? Just pop it into the chat window if you can.
Great, thanks, Kelly, and great question to pose to the audience. So advance to the next slide. This is really at the heart of what Snowflake is doing with our customers and our partners today, is bring to the market this global data cloud that helps any organization or data provider connect to any relevant data set that's relevant to their organization. And we'll talk about how this is possible and some of the value that has been unlocked within organizations by being participants in the data cloud network. Next slide, please. Oops, back up one. Excellent. So this is how we really look at the value propositions through these three lenses of the data cloud. We talked a lot about access to data by breaking down those silos, not only within your four walls of your organization, but across your ecosystem, and getting access to the universe of data signals out there from even third-party providers. But to Kelly's point, getting access to data is just the first step in the journey. And these two subsequent steps are equally as important. Making sure that you can govern data in a privacy compliant manner so that your customers and your employees and your partners have confidence that you understand what data you have under management. You understand the sensitivity of that data and which users or applications with what business context can be or should be accessing that data and how they should be using it. And Snowflake goes to great lengths to make sure that our platform helps our customers govern data with great effectiveness and efficiency so that you have confidence in your governance strategy. And then that leads to action, right? Activating net new workloads and use cases in response to business requirements and market conditions. Now that you have this data in place that you can access it with confidence and governance, let's take action upon it to unlock business value. And Snowflake's platform helps customers do this with great agility. Kelly, we'd love to pose it back to you. What do you see are some of the biggest impacts of customers realizing value from the data cloud?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. I think for us, it goes back to one simple thing. If you have not tried out Snowflake, believe me when I tell you, it just works. And it's worked for a long time. Teddy mentioned, or Michael mentioned that Teddy's been around since 2015 with Snowflake. We started into the space with Snowflake around 2017, 2018. And even at that time, I would tell you, it was rare to have a data platform just work. It basically did not happen. And so there was a lot of hard work that went into it. It was just a real nice surprise and very refreshing to have Snowflake work as well as it did right out of the gate. And I think for those of us that have struggled with technology over the years, working with esoteric development languages or proprietary ways of having to operate infrastructure, there's just not a great reason to have to do that anymore. I think when I look at impact, Teddy, and I think about speed to impact, speed to business value, talked about speed to outcome, that's to me what makes all of us relevant. That's what makes Snowflake relevant as a technology in this space. It makes NTT DATA Hashmap relevant as a service provider. And if you are a client customer delivering services within your organization, ultimately that speed, because we've all lost patience waiting around, that speed is what gives you relevancy within your organization. And if we can't do it, unfortunately, we become irrelevant really, really fast. So that to me is one of the core things. And again, it'd be interesting. Give me a on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being not important, 10 being absolutely critical. How important is speed to you in your data program today? How relevant does that make you? Give me a 0 to 10. Would love to see it in the chat window.
Yeah, another great question, Kelly. All right, so let's dig under the hood here now that we've talked about the benefits of the data cloud. And let's talk about some applications of the data cloud and how customers are using it, but also how the platform actually enables customers to use it in these ways. Snowflake has a cloud native architecture. Our founders, when they built Snowflake, they decided they were going to burn the boats at the shore and really go all in on cloud and build the first cloud native platform that was born in the cloud for the cloud, that really had a novel architecture that enabled customers to operate at scale and agility across heterogeneous workloads to support business requirements. And Kelly just mentioned that one of the greatest things about Snowflake is that it just works, and it enables customers to focus on their business and the value that they want to unlock from data to drive their business, and not have to worry about managing a database or infrastructure, doing things like performance tuning. All of that is really taken care of as Snowflake as part of our SaaS experience, software as a service experience. And the the elastic compute and performance engine of Snowflake enables customers to scale Snowflake from a single workload to hundreds or even thousands of workloads, all on a single copy of data that enables you to have that single source of truth without having to worry about contention between workloads. So no more noisy neighbor problems as you scale. As Kelly mentioned, the different types of data that we can support is truly flexible across structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. And the performance engine and the storage components of Snowflake are all tied together by this intelligent infrastructure layer of our service that really does deliver that automated, autonomous service look and feel that helps you focus on your business outcomes and not managing infrastructure. This layer also is the secret sauce to Snowflake's collaboration capabilities, which we'll talk about next as part of our data sharing workload category. And that is made into a single unified global network of collaboration through our SNOWGRID layer of the service. We'll also talk about that in a subsequent slide. Actually, if you could back up real quick, Lisa, just one more before we finish off here. I would love to just talk about heterogeneous workload support. The workloads up top here that you see are traditional data management, analytic, and data science workloads that you typically see across an enterprise. But Kelly, I'd love to hear from you. Many of our customers start with one of these, or maybe start with 3 or 4 as they go, more all in with a platform like Snowflake. Are you seeing any of these take off at more of an accelerated rate than others today in the market with your customer base?
Yeah, it's a great question. Hate to pick out one. I would say all 6 certainly are being used by our clients. Again, this variety, this elasticity, scalability around variety. So all 6 stand out. So here's what we did. We actually did a Snowflake customer satisfaction survey. That was probably a couple of quarters ago. One of the questions we asked was, which workloads are you using for Snowflake today? So this was a couple of quarters ago. So what came back out of those 6 that you have up there? Data lakes, data warehouses, data apps, data engineering, those 4. What I would tell you is over the last couple of quarters, say the last, 4, 5, 6 months, we're seeing an acceleration of requests across data sharing. And I'm not just talking about just pure data sharing in the context of Snowflake, because Snowflake has a lot of different ways to do that. Teddy's going to get into it with you. But how do I easily share data with partners, clients, data consumers in general, maybe, and how does the Snowflake Data Cloud allow me to do that? The corollary to that is we're getting a lot of requests to not only share data around new data apps, but help me monetize that. I don't know that data monetization is considered a workload in this context, but when I think about building, designing new data apps and new data products and doing that within the context of Snowflake, I think there's a monetization aspect there that's really, really interesting. And it has to do with this shift from thinking about data as an asset to more data as a product. So regardless of, I'd say, company size, industry, or geo, Snowflake's Data Cloud is helping you do that.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. And before we move off this slide, just to drill into what Kelly said around data sharing, in Snowflake, in our data cloud, when we talk about data sharing between 2 different entities, primarily 2 different Snowflake customers, 2 different organizations, we're talking about data sharing through access control changes and not copy and movement of data. It is analogous to giving a friend or a coworker access to a Google Doc or an Office 365 Excel sheet in the cloud. you're not actually copying and sending a file. You're just giving access to another party to access that file to collaborate on. And that is how data sharing works in Snowflake. We are going to great lengths to make sure that customers and their entire ecosystem can collaborate on data and data services without moving and copying the data, maintaining a true live custody relationship with that data, and enabling the security paradigm to be consistent across entities as they collaborate with confidence. So if we go to the next slide here, we'll introduce the SNOWGRID concept, which takes this data sharing capability and enables it to occur across regions and clouds, so that Snowflake now truly is a single unified global network in which every Snowflake customer is a part of. Now, if you are a Snowflake customer and you use Snowflake as a platform for your traditional data warehouse and serving your business intelligence dashboards, maybe you're not participating in these collaboration relationships across the data cloud, but you are part of the data cloud. You are part of the network, whether you're participating or not. And this capability enables your ecosystem to be accessible regardless of whether they've chosen a different cloud than you all maybe have, but they've maybe chosen Google and you chose Amazon Web Services, or you want to partner with a business partner who fundamentally operates in a different region of the globe. Snowflake is a connective tissue between all of these nodes of this network so that the tenants of the network can collaborate effectively across them. And things like governance are consistent and unified across the nodes of this mesh, so that you don't have to worry about jurisdiction concerns or having data or governance policies fall off of data as it moves between these collaboration boundaries. Snowflake simplifies all of this and unifies that experience. Next slide, please. And I know we're running short of time here. So I want to just summarize in stating that this is really what we mean by the Snowflake Data Cloud. It is the platform, which we showed you and didn't get too much into the detail of the architecture, but it is a incredibly scalable, durable, and self-managed platform that can be applied to activate workloads in any of these workload categories and can scale to support hundreds of workloads without any scalability or retention challenges. And that's been a very successful platform. Snowflake IPO'd last September, is, I believe, still the largest enterprise software IPO in history. And that's because of our market momentum with this platform, helping customers become data-driven organizations without having to become expert data engineer and data scientist teams. But the combination of the platform with the network and the content that the members of the network bring to the data cloud is really the value of the data cloud itself. So it's just like LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. You have this foundational technology that's incredibly powerful, but the members of the network and the content that they bring to the network is really where the value resides. So if we just go to our final slide here that builds out, we'll give you all a view. We can actually circle back just one build out, I believe. Oops, we lost the build out. That's okay. So this is a view of collaboration taking place in the data cloud today. These dots are Snowflake customers, and the lines between them are collaboration edges, we call them, or relationships, where two entities are collaborating with data assets or data services between the organizations to drive and unlock business value, unlike anything that was possible before.
On a call. Can I call you back when I'm done? I'm sure I'll be done shortly.
Some examples of this are here on the right, but I'd love, Kelly, I'd love to get some real world examples from you and NTT's experience here.
Yeah, I think this is really, Teddy, I mean, it's an incredible opportunity. And I think you're definitely missing out on this if you're not considering it right now. I would say the need is there. You kind of look at if you're not able to fulfill it, probably one of your competitors is at least thinking about it or maybe doing it. So here's what I would say. Here's my suggestion. If you are just maybe dipping your toe into data sharing or considering it, talk to your clients, talk to your partners, even maybe talk to internal business units within your organization and see how they could benefit from data sharing with you. Just, go through that process. What are the gaps? What do they need that they don't get today, or maybe can't get as easily as they could doing it in an older way? Have that open discussion, feedback sessions with those teams, and then get as creative as you can, but also meaningful and impactful with an initial data sharing app or approach. I'd say that there are a range of challenges, problems, and issues that you could probably align to with a client or two, get a small coalition of the willing together to do that. So again, as Teddy said, I mean, Snowflake and the Snowflake data sharing capabilities are going to give you a range of options to fulfill those needs. I'd love to hear if you are getting those types of requirements today. Again, pop into the chat window. Are you seeing those more with internal business units, customers, partners, or just the community in general? Would love to hear from you on that.
Another great question posed to the audience. Would love to see the feedback. Well, that concludes the Snowflake portion of the education session today. So I believe we're handing it back to the team. But before we do, a quick plug for the Snowflake Snow Day coming up next week. It's a great educational session. I think that's our biannual conference of where we announce product innovation, but also customer success stories. So please join us next week. And also the sessions will be available on demand retroactively if you can't make the entire day.
Great, thanks, Teddy. Thanks, Kelly. Just two comments from my side. One is, I love, what you both said. It just works, right? And then in the spirit of speed and Marcus, you think, how do you go fast, right? I think the combination of, the Snowflake platform, right? Cloud and the hyperscalers and companies like NTT DATA and Hashmap can, bring together these solutions in short order for our clients in the marketplace. So thanks for sharing how we can do that.
Yeah, Wayne, I agree. And I would just chime in, Chicagoland companies like Kraft Heinz and Discover Card have chosen to run Snowflake and monetize their architecture, or modernize their architecture. Just a good example of how data sharing can really transform an industry. In CPG companies, are accustomed to waiting days for inventory and sales data to flow back to them from the grocers and the retail stores that are selling their products. With Snowflake in place on both sides of that equation, so the grocer and the CPG company both running Snowflake, the access to that sales and inventory data is in real time, which is that leveraging of the data sharing component. So it cuts out all the latency, and it's helped CPG customers keep their products stocked at the grocery stores during the pandemic, and it saves them money from having to purchase third-party data from other places for that sales data. So just a quick example of how to leverage that data sharing. And there's plenty more, and NTT as our partner in Hashmap, that's one of the things they do really well is find those real business use cases for us to apply the platform. So great job, Teddy and Kelly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Wayne. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Kelly. And now we are going to hear from Ziggy Mormer, who is going to talk to us about the Employee Resource Group. Ziggy?
Hi, everybody. I am happy to be here to represent the Veterans Employee Resource Group of NTT DATA. We are a group that was founded in September 2019. We've got about 250 members, and it was really a way for veterans to connect with one another within the company and to support outside of the company. Veterans tend to want to get in touch with one another, and as dispersed as we are, this has been an excellent group to be a part of. And today I am honored to get to announce that we have donated to the Warrior Canine Connection. And this is just a great charity. They train service dogs. So at the beginning, they take the puppies, and veterans who may need just a little bit of help connecting with one another, they train the service dogs, and then those service dogs are given to veterans who need the extra help of the service dogs. And it is just a super org. About 86% of every dollar goes directly to them. And it's a wonderful thing, especially with Veterans Day tomorrow, and happy birthday to any Marines that may be around. That is it. Thank you very much for allowing me this time.
Thank you so much, Ziggy. Wow. I mean, what an amazing give back What an amazing organization. We had lots of people in the chat talking about how amazing that organization is. So Ziggy, thank you so much for that important announcement, especially as we look to honor and recognize our veterans tomorrow on Veterans Day. So, well, we have come to the end of today's program. So I just want to thank everybody so much for joining us. Thank you for participating in the chat. Thank you for getting excited about data and about all the things that we learned about our trip through Illinois on Route 66. So be sure to join us next time for our second stop through my home state of Missouri. I was born and raised in St. Louis and now live 2 hours right up the highway in Columbia, where the University of Missouri is. So I'm sure that Dan, though, will have some facts about Missouri that even I don't know. So on behalf of NTT Data and Snowflake, I'm your host, Adonica Coleman, signing off until next time.